said I wanted to do the topic of self-care. But so I want to start group. So where I intern, when we run groups, we always start with giving our name and going over ground rules and saying, I pledge confidentiality to the group. So basically just, the Vegas rule, what happens in group stays in group. Pretty simple stuff. Just ground rules, be respectful. I think we all are adults. We can do that. So, yeah. So I think for the icebreaker, so let me just start fresh. Say your name when it's your turn. Answer the icebreaker and just say you like, hey, yep, I pledge confidentiality. So for the icebreaker, I have a pretty simple one. It's just a question, so you don't need paper or anything like that. You just have to tell the group if in your life you think you would rather have a pause button or a rewind button, and why, if you want to. Yeah, so I can go first. I'm Ben. I pledge my confidentiality to the group, and I think I would rather. Right now, I think I'd rather have a pause button, just because I often feel like there's not enough hours in the day for getting stuff done, and so I would definitely not mind having more time. And yeah, if anyone wants to go next, just feel free.
I'll
I can
go.
pick someone too.
Okay, I got it. I'm Cheyenne. I pledge my confidentiality to the group, and I would rather have a rewind button. There's a lot of memories I like, and I'd like to go back to them. So
I'll go. Oh, sorry. You want to go, Hannah?
No, you go ahead, Christy.
Okay. I don't know why, but this one hit me like right in the feels. And if you said fast forward, I know what I would say. And I wouldn't do that. But when it comes to pause and rewind, I want to rewind because, like Cheyenne said, like all those memories. But at the same time, I want to pause because I have two young kids and I know that I can't ever get those years back and they won't ever be this small again. Um, but it hit me in my feels because I would want to rewind to be with my grandma again. So my answer is pause, but that was a really tough one. And I'm sorry, Christy, and I pledge to keep confidentiality in the group.
I'm Dana. I pledge to keep confidentiality in the group, and I would probably also have a rewind button, just because a lot of good memories, like Cheyenne said.
I am Della. I pledge confidentiality to the group. I would rather have a pause button just because life sometimes moves far too quickly, and I would just like to take a minute to maybe take it all in. Yeah.
I am the other Christy. I pledge confidentiality to the group. And I feel similar to the other Christy because I would like to have a rewind button to buy back some time for both of my grandpas. But I'd also like to have a pause button to be able to continue to have the time left with my grandma that I have left with her.
Well, thank you everybody for sharing, first of all. And I think I like that question just because it kind of, like what you all kind of touched on with it, you kind of can see just what's important to you. Not that, no one thinks their family's important, but just right now where you are in life compared to maybe where you were and looking back and saying, hey, like what the Christies were saying, do you value spending time like with the people you have, or do you miss someone? Sometimes that's just how life goes. Unfortunately, you lose someone, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like I was going back and forth between rewind and pause too, but I just like that question because it kind of gets me in the right mindset for what I want to talk about, which is self care, which is also evaluating just things that are important to you, and it's kind of just seeing how you value yourself and how you value your time, essentially. and making sure that you're valuing yourself enough to take care of yourself. Because I know a lot of people, especially in the social work profession, we've all heard of burnout, right? Where you are giving so much, that idea of the giving cup where you're just pouring from yourself so much. And eventually you can't do that forever, right? You're going to run out. And I think we can all agree self-care is important. So I just don't know if anyone has any strategies that you use for self-care, or if there's anything you think about when you think of self-care. I can tell you from my experience that usually when I think of self-care, I think about how many times I've never done anything for myself, and how that was like something I still kind of struggle with, really. But it's something I've gotten a little better at. So before I go, if anyone else would like to go, just talk anything you want about, what self-care means to you, if you do anything, if you struggle with it, anything like that.
It takes me a minute to hit the thing, so I'm sorry because I'm over there. So for self care, I used to struggle with it too a lot, and like actually have like figuring out how to do it, and like for myself. And this is gonna sound really bad, but I used to just like gaslight myself before I knew self care, and I'd just be like, "You're fine, get over it," and it would work, which is so bad. So that's like what not to do. That's what my little don't do that. Actually take care of yourself. But uh something I do, I have found like reading. So self-care is like it's like better now for myself because I found out how to do it. But like don't try to gaslight yourself and thinking everything's fine because it probably isn't. If you need self-care, do it. That's what I gotta say.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And before I comment on what you said, Della, I did see your hand up.
Do you want me to speak? I was raising it, so I didn't have to talk with someone else at the same time. Do you want me to wait?
No, I don't want you to lose your
Oh,
thought.
okay. Okay. So I was gonna say that I am very big on self-care. It took me a long time to get here. I was very, very ill for a very, very long time. So after that, and I got better, that was like my promise to myself, to take care of myself. So for me, self-care is making sure I drink tons of water, making sure that I find things that I enjoy, and not make excuses about money, to not do them, and that I make time to rest. I rest. I know a lot of people struggle with rest. There's a book out there called Sabbath, and I just recommend it to anybody. It's a really old book, but it's very valid because it doesn't talk about a specific religion, but it teaches what the whole concept about rest is, coming from different perspectives and different belief systems. And I read that. Somebody begged me to read it. I didn't want to read it, but I was sick and I read it. And after that, it just kind of changed my whole outlook on rest. So I'm very big on getting physical rest, mental rest, emotional rest. I will drop all the balls. If I don't get rest, it's like you got so many things going on. I got to do this. I got to be here. I'm accountable to my job, my family, etc. But if I don't get rest, I will drop everything. Meaning, you were expecting me to show up. I was supposed to hand in a project. I don't care what it is. Like I come first. I got to get my rest. So I am ginormous on that. I'm a big advocate for resting my body physically, mentally, emotionally. So it's that, and drinking tons of water, and just making time to do the things that I like to do, and not using money as an excuse for not doing stuff.
Thank you. That was great. Chrissy, I did see you. I'll get to you in 1 second. I don't want to lose my thought now. Um, but I really liked how both of you, Trina and Della, said how, you didn't want to read the book, and, you kept gaslighting yourself, and how, for whatever reason, it's so much easier sometimes to just give of yourself. And I like that you both kind of talked about rest, really. You talked about doing something relaxing and reading, and then you talked about, that mindful rest and that even that physical rest and how just important recharging and refilling yourself is. And I just think that's so important. Christy N.
So to go off from what Della was saying and Cheyenne, when I think of self-care, I definitely know that I struggle with it, but I'm also a social person, and when I get out and do stuff, that's kind of my self-care. Um, and so I'm not great at a routine self-care. It was like getting my nails done, but like Della said, not she tries not to use money as a factor. I'm actually gonna stop getting my nails done because we were looking at our finances and I just probably don't need to be spending the money on that right now. So unfortunately, I have to use that excuse right now. Um, but I wish I wasn't in a position to have to use that excuse because I would be the same way. But when it comes to food and going out to eat, I don't use that excuse because I love food and I will spend the money on it. But oh, and rest. So kind of like Della was saying, actually, last week I think it was, I felt so absent from my house, and when I would get home late after work and interning, I felt like my kids just. I felt like it was kind of like interfering with my relationship with them, and that was really hurtful. So I spent a few days being home and being present, and I just put all my homework and everything on pause, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hand it in late. If I get hit because it's late, it's late. It's fine. My grade's fine. I've held it up so well this whole time, but my family needs me, and I had to do that, and it's helped, and I came back rejuvenated, and I feel like I'm in a good spot now. But definitely self-care right now while we're interning because it is a hard balance, especially if you've got stuff going on at home. So yeah, that's my self-care talk.
Thank you for that, because it actually reminded me of something I wanted to say. And I like that you brought up balance too. Um, I think that kind of gets lost sometimes when we're thinking about self care. At least it has for me. I can put it on the I statement. When I think of self care, I would definitely think about what I need to do for me. And then maybe that would be letting other stuff go, which then might just be as bad as burnout, like what Della was saying, where stuff's falling through the cracks, or like what Christy was saying, or Shane was saying, where you're just telling yourself it's okay, or you're letting important stuff like what you value, like family time. And then that's not balanced too. If you're doing too much of any good thing, it's could become a bad thing. So I liked, really the idea of balance. And I also wanted to talk just briefly about like the idea of reading or drinking water for self care. Like taking care of yourself can be boring, quote unquote. It can just be maintenance. But maintenance is so important because you're not like with a car, if you don't change the oil, it's not going to run after a while. If you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not brushing your teeth, for example, maybe, you know, little things add up over time and they do wear at you. So even just doing boring maintenance, that counts. That's still something. And I think it's important to remember you're worth whatever the effort is. I don't remember where I heard it once, but I heard someone say if something's worth doing, it's worth half-assing. Because if you're half-assing something, at least you're doing some of it, which is better than not taking care of yourself at all. Even if you're just doing the maintenance stuff, that's better than not doing anything at all. Christy D or Dana, I don't know if any of you want to share next.
Um,
Oh,
sorry.
do you want to?
Sure, I can go. Um, I, I've always struggled with self-care. It's hard, and I think we're in a field where we are teaching it to clients a lot. And like I found a really great worksheet. It's called a self-care inventory, and I just used that with the client last week. But kind of made me reflect, like, I'm, encouraging you to do all of these things and I'm not necessarily doing them. So I think that's another important part of, this field too, is being that model of good boundaries and self-care, because if we're not taking care of ourselves, then we can't take care of other people. So it's definitely really important, but it's hard for sure.
Christy, do you want to go? Thank you, Dana, by the way.
So it kind of builds off of that. I was gonna say, all of what everybody said, rest, doing kind things for yourself. One of my biggest things that I do for self-care is really boundaries within relationships. And that is inside the workplace, outside the workplace. Some people have healthy families. I have one that could rival Shameless. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that show, but it's fun. So, healthy boundaries there. Setting up a therapist for yourself, because even if you're literally sitting there with the professional just talking about your day and displacing those frustrations with someone who's never going to have to interact with that situation, that's self-care. Leaving your work cell phone at work and not bringing that home with you. Not having your work email follow you home. Stuff like I have very, very firm boundaries in place. So when I'm out of the office, I am out of the office and that's it. And I have, there's only so much that I can do for people, and then that's it. And I have limits, and that allows me to do all of the other self-care, like drink water and get rest and take care of myself and manage my work-life balance and all of that. And sometimes I eat healthy and sometimes I have cheeseburgers, whatever works at that point. But the boundaries, I think, are the most important part of my self-care out of all of it to keep my sanity.
I'm so glad you said the keep your sanity part, because I did have that as something I wanted to talk about too, is just kind of like at a basic level what self-care comes down to is really just keeping yourself honest, really, about what's working and what's not, and like I was saying earlier, what's important to you and maybe what is less important, or what you should prioritize, maybe is a better way to put it. And I think what I've noticed with everyone talking is that no one said, "Oh yeah, self-care is so easy for me and it's always been easy and I've always done it and it's been great the whole time." And I think that just kind of goes to show just how easy it can be to not put your own oxygen mask on first, to borrow another analogy. And so just kind of briefly I want to talk about like the other side of self-care, right? Is that burnout. And I don't know if anyone here has experienced it or is willing to share their experience with it. I know I have. Where I work, I notice myself getting frustrated, really quickly with patients where I didn't used to. And I just noticed that like those, even a mundane thing, you'd ask me a question, I think, how are they asking, anything they do. And I thought, oh, maybe it's because I haven't, taken a vacation in like a year. Like I haven't done anything for myself. But I didn't think about that right away. A couple weeks go by, and then I would just keep finding myself getting frustrated at home too. It wasn't just at work. And yeah, I found myself having to be honest, right? Having to reflect with myself and think, what do I need to prioritize right now? So if anyone has anything they want to share about burnout, if you don't, that's fine. But if anyone does, I'm sure we'd all like to hear it.
I'm definitely burned out with my day job. Um, the blessing is I enjoy what I do, but I know that I'm literally going through the motions, just trying to get through the day. But it's where we are. I mean, everybody's doing this, and I'm not going to complain because some of you guys have kids. At least I don't have small children. So there's that. So I hate to even complain about it, but yeah, I'm there because I like I enjoy my job, but every aspect of it right now is annoying, boring. mundane. I'm just literally just going through the motions. I'm half-assing it. I love that whole, but I'm doing it. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing what I can because this is a season where I decided to go back to school to try to, be better, do better, make more money. So that's on me, but I gotta live. So, but unfortunately, my job, I wouldn't say it's suffering because I'm still productive, but I'm definitely half-assing it. There's no doubt about that. Just trying to get through this next year so I can transition to something else. And I've been here before, but this time I think what's different is before when I was burnt out, I gave up. I was working a corporate job and I absolutely positively, it was horrible. Like I wasn't productive at all. But in this regard, I laughed when Benjamin said that because, yeah, I'm definitely half-assing it, but I'm doing it. I'm here every day. I'm showing up. I'm doing the best I can to juggle a few different hats just for now. And a young lady said something to me that stuck with me a long time ago. And she said, I can do anything for a little while. And so that's what I tell myself. This is just a temporary season of hectic. I'll get through it. And I'm giving it what I have for now. So
I definitely hit burnout with my last job, and I've hit it before. And I also there's a lot I didn't agree with the agency and how things are handled, and up against CPS and just trying to fight for kids, then you're stuck against walls, and that can give you a huge burnout. And I did like the other Christy said, and I just kept reminding myself there's only so much you can do. um, but I ultimately I was at the job for 7 years, and I ultimately had to leave, and I was willing to risk everything to leave. Like I was on my ninth year, my 10-year student loan forgiveness. They were offering it at part-time. Like I was willing to just sacrifice everything I had to get out of there. Um, sorry, when I say they were offering part-time and all that, it's where I'm at now. So I landed here, I talked them into full time, and I'm happier here. I have so many options so I don't run into burnout. I've always dealt with like a lot of crisis stuff. I don't have that here. I took a huge cut with my income, but I had to do it for my sanity and my mental health. I just was not in a good spot. So, definitely like it, and that's what revived me to want to come back and get my master's. And I actually found like a little more time in my day to be able to do that. So, burnout is real and it can make you want to leave the field. So, definitely get a good self-care regimen, whatever, like figure it out. And I think setting those boundaries is so huge. Like I have so many coworkers. I work in a school, and they're like, this parent is like bugging me on my personal phone. I'm like, you guys are nuts. I would never, ever. And I run student council, and I have a couple kids that have my phone number, but I make it very clear, and they've never crossed any boundary with me. And I'm like, you do not give my number away. And, and thank God, but like it's the parents, and I'm like, you guys are nuts. Like you are absolutely insane to give your number out. So, yes, good boundaries.
Um, so I've worked at quite a few agencies, and experienced burnout. What I think helps too, it depends on the team that's around you. So like we work in a hospital now, so I do. It ebbs and flows. We'll go weeks on ends where we are bursting at the seams with patients, and it is nonstop all day, every day. And like, so for an example, Monday, we had one of our team member of four, our care management team is four people for the whole hospital. They can hold 50 patients. That's not counting the emergency room. Um, and we're just divided among it. So my coworker and I get there. There's another team member running late. There's a team member that called in. We just set our stuff down, and in pops my boss, who does not work on site, and she decided to come in early since somebody had called in and did 11 initial new patients because there's no weekend coverage, and she knew we were down somebody. So she came in early, interviewed 11 people just to make the day go by easier for the team. Um, and we do things like when we're all overwhelmed, one of us will go up and like, let's buy some ice cream, and we'll bring down ice cream for everybody and go sit outside for 10 minutes and eat it. Or we make jokes, we support each other, we check in with each other. And I think that makes the difference between the mental burnout. Because yeah, somebody can be screaming at you, but it's hard to really dwell on that and be overwhelmed when somebody hands you ice cream cone afterwards. You
I
know.
just I just want to jump in and say something to that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to hog this. My old place, we I was a supervisor and I would have other supervisors be like, your team's kind of loud. And it would, because the office was so stale, like you could hear a pin drop because we were
Mhm.
like up with admin. And I'm like, we deal with trauma nonstop. I will not tell my staff that they can't laugh. I won't do it.
I oversaw a medical box build line at one of my former jobs, and we had fun on the line, and we had, 100% accuracy. Our delivery rate was 100%, and we got in trouble constantly because we were having too much fun, and the other lines that were not doing as well and not as productive were not having as much fun. And they couldn't make that connection. But I think the team and the support around you really affects the level of burnout, because I've worked at places that didn't have that level of support, and I quit those jobs and I took pay cuts before to leave those jobs
That's
because
what I did. Yeah.
I just can't deal with that.
That really does matter. You're so right. Like, just that alone to have that atmosphere is probably worth so much more than what people understand. Like, that's worth more than, the top dollar pay. Like, that sanity and that good group of people will keep you there much longer than money.
I think I think that's interesting that you say that, and I think what it kind of points to is where we kind of started again with, you know, priorities and those, like I like how you mentioned boundaries really, because you can only set those for yourself. Like no one can tell you, what your boundaries are. And so, for some people it's, hey, I'm going to prioritize my sanity right now, and that's what you got to do. And I appreciate what Della said actually a lot, because I've done the same thing where it kind of feels like every day you're going to work, you're getting poked in the side, right? Like you're just going through the motions, you're just dealing with it. But you can say to yourself, I can deal with this, right? Like this is the devil I know. It's not going to cause me to go over the edge where maybe in the past something would have, but this isn't. And I know, like, hey, what's best for me is to stay stable, essentially. Don't go through the hassle of looking for a new job. And I kind of appreciate the different viewpoints, right? Of like, hey, I can say for me, keep it on the eye that I would, what I've done in the past is I've just stayed where I know I can handle it and worked until I got to a better place where I felt more comfortable. But then, maybe for you two, I really do appreciate, like, I'm trying not to be crude, but, having the guts, I'll say, to say, hey, this is what I have to do for me and doing it. And I think it's just important to acknowledge that that looks different for everybody, wherever you are in life. And there's no right or wrong answer, really, for dealing with it. And I appreciate you all for sharing. I don't know if Cheyenne or Dana, if you have anything to share, it's okay if you don't, but I want to give you the opportunity to at least shake your head no. Okay, cool. If you want to. Um, but yeah, it's it's kind of universal, right? Like it's gonna affect us all probably at one time or another if it hasn't already. And I'll keep saying it's important, and then I'll keep doing what little bit I do. I'll keep half-assing the little self-care that I do. Maybe one day I'll be better. I don't know, but I'll have something, and it'll just have to be good enough for me, whatever it looks like. And I hope you all find whatever's good enough for you, whatever that looks like, whether it's leaving a job or staying at the job. So unless anyone has any closing thoughts you want to leave us with, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I've already kept you, I think, a little bit past what we needed to. All right. Well, in that case, I'm.
Good job, Ben.
Oh my gosh. Barely did anything, but thank you so much.
Good job. That was a good one. Are we
All right.
meeting this time next week?
I was just wondering that. I don't
I
know.
I was gonna say, guys, I'm sorry. I did say that last week too. That I can't do next Wednesday. It's the only day I can't do, but I can move my schedule for any other day or time.
Is Thursday a good day?
Do you want to go
I
back to
can, if
Tuesday
I
or
don't know
do
how everybody
Thursday?
else feels about that's the 25th. I'm good. Any other day except Wednesday.
Oh, I cannot. Oh, wait. No, it's this Thursday. I can't. Okay, yeah, next. I can on the 25th.
The Bills game is this Thursday.
What time does the game start?
It starts a little. It's Thursday night, so it's
Is that
8.
an 8 o'clock game?
Mhm.
The only day that I can't do is Tuesday because that's my cornhole league, which is also my self-care.
Love that.
Slay.
Wait, is the 25th good for everyone, though? Can't we say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next Thursday. Or the
Okay.
25th. I think
Good.
that's next Thursday.
Okie dokie.